Hi, my name is Dr. Courtney Bailey, and I'm a Gynecologic Oncology Fellow at Augusta University. Thank you to the program committee for allowing me to present today on our research entitled "The COVID-19 Pandemic Did Not Adversely Affect Clinical Trial Enrollment in Gynecologic Oncology Trials at a Single Academic Institution." I'd also like to thank my mentors and colleagues who have helped with this project. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected patient care in many ways throughout oncology, but especially in clinical trials. COVID-19 mitigation efforts, including self-isolation and avoiding healthcare centers, have been noted to interfere with all aspects of clinical trials, including enrollment, intervention, adherence, and outcome collection. In May 2020, the FDA published several recommendations for conducting clinical trials during the pandemic, which included remote study visits, delivery of an investigational product to patients' homes, and remote monitoring of studies. However, despite these recommendations, decreases in clinical trial participation were noted throughout the country and globally in 2020. A 41.8% reduction was noted in the number of open clinical trials between January to May 2019 and January to May of 2020, and to date, 1,130 trials have been stopped due to COVID-19. During the early portion of the pandemic, the Southwest Oncology Group reported a decrease from a mean of 137 enrollments per week in January to March 2020 to a mean of 66 enrollments per week in March to April of 2020. The objective of our study was to compare enrollment of patients with gynecologic cancers at our institution in 2019 before the pandemic with enrollment in 2020 during the pandemic. Clinical trial enrollment data from January 2019 to December 2020 was obtained from the Clinical Trials Office at the Georgia Cancer Center. Wilcox and rank-sum testing was used to compare the following data by corresponding quarter between 2019 and 2020. The total patients enrolled in gynecologic oncology therapeutic trials, the number of patients enrolled in each clinical trial phase, the number of patients enrolled by disease site, and the total gynonc clinic visits. Standard descriptive statistics were used to compare demographic data of the clinical trial enrollees. This slide shows the results of our study. As you can see, the total enrollment of gynecologic oncology clinical trials was not statistically significantly different when compared by quarter between 2019 and 2020. There was no statistically significant difference between the phase of clinical trial enrolled. There was no statistically significant difference between disease site of clinical trials enrolled. The total clinic visits for gynecologic oncology was not statistically significantly different between each quarter in 2019 and 2020. The mean age of patients enrolled in clinical trials was similar between the 2 years, as was the mean distance traveled. In conclusion, clinical trial enrollment at our institution remained similar for gynonc trials during the COVID-19 pandemic compared to the prior year. We attribute the continued enrollment of patients in clinical trials to several factors. The first is the dedication of our research team to work on site. Research staff worked remotely when possible, but were committed to being present in clinic when clinical trial patients had visits. Next, given the fact that many patients drive several hours to see us, local accommodations are an essential part of our practice. Our nonprofit patient accommodation facility, the Lydia Project, remained open even when hotels were closed. Safety measures such as social distancing within the facility and mandatory COVID testing prior to check-in were implemented for patient safety. Finally, after lockdowns ended in our area, our local GYN cancer support group continued to hold socially distanced outdoor events in small groups throughout the year. Thank you so much for your time. These are my references, and my contact information is also listed.